A helicopter was above me, and I was driving on the wrong side of the road, reckless driving. Um, I jumped out of the van when it was still going 50 miles per hour. We hit a dead end. My name is Isaac Martinez, and I have been sober for 13 years. Okay, so my childhood, I was born in Long Beach. I was raised in Bell Gardens, and really, when I was raised in Bell Gardens, that's when things started out good. My mom, she was a nurse. My dad was a welder. I have six siblings. There's a total of seven of us, and things started out normal. We had everything we needed. Um, part of the my childhood that was kind of rocky was there was a lot of in and out based on my dad. I grew up in the kind of household where if you heard an argument or if you heard a disagreement between my parents, you automatically knew the next thing you were going to hear is a car pulling away. And that was my dad. He would leave so often that he would keep a duffel bag in his trunk with clothes already ready. Um, and I can remember my dad leaving, and he would leave over and over. My brothers began to leave. My sisters began to leave. Everybody was running away. And because of that, I grew up with a lack of intimacy. I didn't have the ability of getting close to people. It was very easy for me to cut relationships and not feel anything at all. And I remember, one time when my dad left, he would usually be gone for a couple months. But this time he was gone for a really long time. And I could remember my mom being in the other room crying, and I would hear her, and I would try to counsel her and be there for her, and really just try to be the man of the house at the age of 5, 6, 7 years old. So my childhood was rough. I had everything I needed physically, but looking back, I realized that the thing I needed the most at that time was a father, and I can see now that a lot of my problems came from the lack of having a dad there. So my main drug of choice was methamphetamines. The thing I loved about meth the most was just having that ability to have endless activities. You never have to go to sleep. You can have fun for days at a time. You can be up all night and all day, and you never got tired. And you can just have all kinds of energy to do whatever you need to do. Whether that's hanging out with friends or getting a job done. Just having all kinds of energy and never getting tired and always being able to never miss out on anything. Yeah, so the first drug I tried was marijuana. Um, it's crazy because the whole reason why I tried it in the first place was because of peer pressure. When I was going to school, I was hanging out with people who they all smoked weed and they all partied. I grew up in a very strict home. My parents didn't let me go to parties. They didn't let me be out in the streets whenever I wanted to. They always wanted to know where I was. So in order to hang out with this specific group of people, I used to act like I was high even though I was sober. They would all be high and it would be all like, man, my eyes are red. Man, I got the munchies. Man, I got high earlier before I came to class. And I was faking it. Like I was high too. I didn't even get high. I was just acting like I had the munchies. Had my eyes low just so I could blend in with this specific group of people. So one day, they didn't get high before they came to school. We were right just about to go to class, and they were like, man, let's go smoke real quick. That was my first time smoking weed, and I was super nervous. I thought I was nervous before I smoked, but the nervousness I felt after I smoked was crazy. I felt like my whole body was shaking. I had my backpack on, and I felt like I had to ask all the guys around me. I was like, man, are my shoulders lifting up and down fast? I feel like my whole body's twitching. Tell me the truth. Is my body twitching? And I had to go see past security to get into class late, and I felt like security was gonna know I was high because I felt like they were gonna for sure be able to tell, like, man, this guy's whole body's shaking. For sure he's high. But I just felt like my whole body was shaking. My whole body wasn't actually shaking. It was just a lot of weed for my first time smoking. The craziest thing I experienced while using, the first thing that was really crazy that I experienced while using, it was a season where my mom hadn't seen me in a few months. The last time she seen me, she knew I was smoking weed. But since that time, I had begun smoking meth, and she hadn't seen me for a few months. Well, she finally got me to agree to go to breakfast with her at Denny's. I was at the Hotel 6 right next to the Denny's at the time. I was waiting outside of Denny's, and she pulled up. I saw her pull up. She got off the car, and she saw me and passed right by me. Because she didn't recognize me, because that's how bad the meth had gotten me. That's how much weight I had lost, and that's how different I looked and how sucked up I looked. She didn't recognize me at the time, and I had to call out to her. And for that whole morning at breakfast, she didn't even get to eat any breakfast or order any breakfast. She just sat across from me at the table and was just crying the whole time. The other thing I could remember about my addiction that was just one of the craziest moments was when my father passed away. My family, they knew I was getting high, and they knew that I was addicted to meth. And they only had one request for me. They said, we want you to come to the funeral. We want you to be part of it, but we just have one request: just don't come high. And of course, being an addict, that's the only request you can't meet. So I showed up at nighttime to the wake. I had sunglasses on. I caused problems between my mom's side of the family and my dad's side of the family. I caused a fight there. I was disrespectful to everybody that loved me and cared about me. And after I started that fight, the police came. I stole the car from the wake, and I went on another run right after that. After my dad died, I remember getting in an elevator with my friend. I got in the elevator with my friend, and it was just me and him in the elevator. And he said, "Hey, I heard your dad passed away." And I didn't care so much to the point where I didn't even tell any of my friends. I just acted like life was normal. And he said, "Hey, I heard your dad passed away." And I said, "Yeah, but I don't really give a crap." And we got out of that elevator, and that day marked the beginning of the craziest run that I was about to go on using methamphetamines. I began to steal cars every single day. There wasn't a day that passed where I didn't steal a car or two. And this specific day landed on a Sunday. It was a Sunday morning, and I had already stolen 3 cars that morning. I was in Commerce. I pulled out. I pulled into the main street. A CHP officer was on that side of the street. I was at a red light, and something in me just said, they know your car's stolen. You might as well just take the light. So I punched through the red light. I went on a high-speed pursuit. The helicopter was above me, and I was driving on the wrong side of the road. reckless driving. I jumped out of the van when it was still going 50 miles per hour. We hit a dead end. The van crashed into the wall, and I got arrested that day. I was facing 9 years in prison. They cut me a deal for 1 year. While I was in prison, I got sober enough. I realized how messed up that was, that I wasn't there for my mom when she needed me the most. I burned every single bridge. My whole goal from that point was to just try to stay clean. And I realized I don't ever want to use drugs again. I remember a time when I was so tired of getting high, and I really wanted help. I didn't want to keep getting high. I didn't want to keep using meth. I didn't want to keep sleeping on the streets. I didn't want to keep stealing every day. I seriously wanted to stop, but I didn't have what it took to stop on my own. So I told my friends, I gathered them around me. I said, I need you guys to do me a favor. If I come around here trying to get high again, I want you guys to get around me and just beat the hell out of me. Can you promise me that you're going to do that? So they're like, are you sure you want us to do that? And I said, yes, please, because that's the only way, that's the only option I could think of where I could stop getting high. A couple of days passed. I showed up. I was like, hey, who wants to get high? And they said, hey, man, you told us if you came around here again asking to get high, we were supposed to beat the hell out of you. I said, well, do you want to get high or not? And they were like, okay, yeah, you're right. They didn't even have what it took to beat me up, just like I asked them to. So there was no hope for me. All that mixed with getting sober, that, helped me to realize that I can't live that way anymore. My mom, she attempted to get me therapy from a young age. She realized something was going wrong in my life. People were leaving. My dad was leaving. My brothers were leaving. My sisters were leaving. Nobody could help me. Nobody could fix me. She tried to get me therapy at the age of 7, 8. I wouldn't even go into the room with the therapist. She had tried to get me treatment at a county facility. I never went to, I left the first day. She had tried to get me treatment at all kinds of places, and I was never able to stay till she finally tricked me into going into a men's home at Freedom. The thing that helped me the most, it wasn't a luxury rehab. It wasn't, a great therapist. I know that those things work for so many people, but for me, the thing that helped me the most was a guy named Pastor Jason. I get emotional when I think about it because I know if I didn't have him in my life, I probably wouldn't be here right now. And what he did for me was he brought me in as a son. I didn't know what it was like to have a dad. I was still wild. I was still very disrespectful. I was rude. I was mean. I was just sort of a punk. And he didn't let that move him. He still kept helping me, no matter how jacked up I was. He literally brought me into his house. He taught me how to be a husband, how to be a dad, how to have a relationship with God. He told me, he said, you don't ever have to pay me back. The only thing I want you to do is to go help somebody else. What I'm most grateful for at this season of my life, it's not the things I have or where I live or anything like that. It's the fact that I'm free now and I don't have to live that way anymore. And I have a beautiful wife. I have 3 beautiful children. I get to spend my whole life helping others. And I never have to live that life again. That's what I'm the most proud of right now. And if there's anything I could say to somebody who's struggling, anybody who's struggling with methamphetamines or any kind of addiction, you don't have to struggle like that anymore. We have resources for you. There's a lot of help you can get. Just don't isolate. Don't don't go off on your own and try to wait for the right time, because you know what? Sometimes for a lot of people, the right time never comes. And people end up dying. And people end up losing their marriages. They end up losing their children. And you don't want your life to end like that. So, that's the main thing I could say is if you need help, reach out for it. For those of you who feel like, maybe I'm doing a little bit better, but I'm still not where I want to be, you could use your story to help other people. And, if you're still working on your story and maybe you don't see the end of it yet, you can start now and just get to work and get some help, get some people around you who will tell you the truth, not people who are going to just tell you what you want to hear, but people who are going to tell you what you need to hear. And you're going to end up having a story too, and you're going to help a lot of people. Just stick with it.